This strategy got me from catching 6 colds in 2023 to not having been sick in over 2 years. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can do it too. I feel like people have just given up on the thought of not getting sick in the first place, and they've just accepted it as it's been completely normal to get sick around this time of the year and catch a cold like everyone else. But as much as it's common, it really shouldn't be normal. With the right prevention, immunity boost, and actionable tip, when the very first symptoms come on, it is possible to not get sick like everyone else. There was a time when my immune system was literally non-existent. I had chronic UTIs, constant colds, cold sores popping up on my lip all the time, and so many other symptoms. But I actually tracked all these symptoms on the notes app on my phone, and it turns out that I had my last cold or flu around Christmas 2023. So it's been over 2 years, including 2 to 3 winters, without getting sick, which is wild considering I used to get ill every other month. And the crazy part is that my husband has still brought home colds from work and stuff, and of course we still live together, we still share the same bed, we still give each other smooches, but still, I didn't get sick. So no, this video is not about avoiding germs altogether. That's impossible. Viruses are still part of this life, especially in winter. And the goal isn't complete sterilization either, but how can we make our immune system so resilient that it just fights off all these bacteria and viruses? So I'm gonna split this video in 2 parts actually. This is part 1, and then I'm gonna link part 2 up here and in the description. In this first part, I'm gonna share 3 very specific habits that I practice consistently and religiously to really prevent getting sick and strengthening my immune system from the ground up. And these tips go way beyond, just eat healthy and exercise and wash your hands and you'll be fine, because we've all had this enough. In part 2, I'm going to share 3 very concrete steps as well as some extra tips of all the things I use and do whenever I do have a cold coming up. And so with these things, even when I think I may be coming down with something, I'm able to intervene and stop it fast and naturally without medication. So let's start with prevention. Step number 1, and the most underrated immune strategy, is nervous system regulation. And before you roll your eyes and think, well, what does my nervous system have to do with my immune system and getting sick? Hear me out. Chronic stress is one of the strongest suppressors of your immune function. When you experience stress, your body activates the HPA axis, and that triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline. In the short term, of course, we want this because this is life-saving, but the problem is that modern stress never really turns off. Work lines, emotional load, poor recovery, all of these things lead to your body staying in survival mode. And that's exactly where immunity starts to break down, because elevated cortisol reduces lymphocytes, which are your white blood cells, and those are sort of your immune soldiers. So if we have less of those, obviously that means a weaker defense. It also disrupts cytokine signaling, communication network your immune cells use, meaning that when you have poor communication, it obviously means a slower and more ineffective immune response. And lastly, it also lowers IgA antibodies, especially in the gut and respiratory tract. And that is where your first line of defense against viruses sits. And then to all of this, you usually add sleep disruption, which is another byproduct of stress. Poor sleep dramatically reduces your natural killer cell activity. And those NK cells are responsible for destroying viruses and abnormal cells. Just one night of bad sleep can reduce NK cell activity by up to 70%. This is why people under sustained pressure and stress are far more likely to get colds, stomach issues, herpes flare-ups, or any condition that you're dealing with, and the list goes on. So for me personally, actively regulating my nervous system has probably made the single biggest difference when it comes to my health. I have an entire video outlining the top 15 ways to regulate your nervous system, which I'm going to link you up here, favorites right now. The first one is slow, intentional breathing. Something as simple as 4-8 breathing can make a huge difference. So all you do is inhale for 4 counts and then exhale for 8 counts. Just make sure that your exhalation is longer than your inhalation. This works so well because your vagus nerve senses those changes in heart-lung rhythm, and those longer exhales increase HRV, which is a key marker of nervous system resilience. So when you do things like the 4-8 breathing, you not only lower cortisol, but you also reduce amygdala activity, which is your brain's alarm and fear center, and you shift your body out of fight or flight. Your body cannot physically stay in fight or flight mode if you breathe slowly, because that is the first sign that signals your body, we are safe, we're in a calm environment, everything's good. And the second nervous system regulation is bilateral stimulation, which is essentially a rhythmic left-right movement. And the most natural form of that is walking, just 5 minutes. Engages both hemispheres in the brain, improves neural communication, and again, downregulates your amygdala. Bonus points if you're outside, surrounded by nature, get some sunlight exposure in there, all of which further reduce stress hormones and support your circadian rhythm. So if you want your body to fight off viruses and bacteria effectively, you have to take it out of survival mode first. Step number 2 is stay on top of your micronutrients. If you want to stay healthy throughout the winter, vitamins and minerals and trace elements, aka micronutrients, aren't just nice to haves. They are the foundation of a very strong and resilient immune system. And yes, supplements are totally fine. We use them for convenience at times. But please do me the favor and don't just grab any pill. Get your blood work done first. See if you have any deficiencies. And then when you do go for a supplement, make sure you go for a very high quality natural one that isn't filled with fillers and additives and gives you way too high doses and all that kind of stuff. If you want to know more about that, I'm going to link you this video up here where I talk a little bit more about conventional supplements. And if you want to know which supplements I personally take, then I'll go over all of that in the second part of this mini-series. But here are the vitamins, minerals, micronutrients that you need for a strong immune function. Now, how do I apply this in real life? Vitamin D and K2 I do supplement typically during the winter time. However, because we now live in New Mexico where we have 310 days of sunlight each year, this winter I'm just going to monitor levels, get my blood work done before and after the winter time instead of just randomly supplementing it, because I do believe that I get enough right now. But if you are in a country that has less sunlight, is more gloomy and dark at this time of the year, definitely have checked. Then what I love is a breakfast smoothie with frozen berries, a seed mix of like pumpkin seeds, walnuts, flax seeds, one Brazil nut, as well as some yogurt and kefir, some oats, some greens, very important. The darker the greens, the better. So maybe some kale or parsley, sometimes spinach, and then a banana for some potassium, but also just for the sweetness. And then I typically add some peanut butter, protein powder, or chia seeds for some extra protein. And with that, you are covering all the bases. You're not just having a smoothie that spikes your blood sugar, but instead you're covering all the bases of fiber, protein, and healthy fats, and not just fruit sugars and carbohydrates. This is actually a really good way of starting your day if you want to get a lot of those micronutrients all at once, especially if you're in a rush and don't have time to make an elaborate healthy breakfast. Then I always make sure that I aim for very colorful meals. The goal here, which can make things easier for people who are just starting out, incorporating more colors into their diet, is to aim for 2 colors per plate. So start with whatever you're already eating to make things easier, right? So if you, for example, eat an avocado toast in the morning, maybe start adding some cherry tomatoes. Or if you like the classic kind of rice and meat kind of plate, then maybe add some peas and carrots, and that they can be frozen to make it even easier, but just add some beans, that kind of stuff to your plate to add a couple more colors. Or if you're already making a side salad for your lunch, that's great, but maybe start adding some apple slices or nuts to your salad. Trust me, it makes it taste 10 times better and you get even more of those vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients. And then one last thing that I've been doing religiously for those past few weeks of it getting colder are weekly immunity shots. Here I just blend some beetroots and citrus fruits with honey and ginger and turmeric and all the good stuff. Blend it, strain it, and then it's super easy and convenient, and you have like a shot a day with all the immune supporting compounds. I'm going to link this video up here where I share the exact recipe and how I make it, but I feel like that alone has really made a difference in my immune function. And then tip number 3 is to stop drinking alcohol, and yes, even a little. Especially during the winter months when your immune system is already compromised. And I know it's tempting with mulled wine around and just kind of like warming up in front of the fireplace, but alcohol is literally poison for your body and your immune system, and stopping this one habit will make such a big difference between getting sick constantly and staying healthy for years. Looking back, it's no coincidence that my constant colds and infections fully overlapped with my time at university and a couple years afterwards, where there were lots of nights out, a lot of excessive drinking, and a lot of weekly or monthly parties. And about 2 to 3 years ago, I made a decision to basically stop drinking altogether, very rare occasions, and even then have like maybe a couple drinks and not just, the very excessive heavy drinking. And the fact is that my last cold was 2 years ago. Coincidence? Maybe, but I don't think so, and the science backs it up. Like I said, alcohol is literally poison for your body and immune system, even very small amounts, and here's why. Alcohol reduces both the number and activity of neutrophils and natural killer cells, which are your immune system's first responders. That means your body takes longer to detect and fight viruses and bacteria. Alcohol also weakens T cell and B cell function, reducing antibody production, which means infections that would normally be minor can stick around longer and hit harder. Alcohol also raises cytokines, creating chronic immune stress, so your system is basically working against itself. Then we all know alcohol reduces deep and restorative sleep, so the phase where your body produces growth hormone, immune cytokines, and regenerative cells is being compromised, and without it, immunity drops. And lastly, alcohol interferes with absorption and storage of critical immune nutrients like zinc, magnesium, vitamin A, and vitamin C. And obviously less nutrients means a weaker defense, means more colds, flus, and infections. So the bottom line is, if you want to stay healthy, avoid alcohol. And then pair this with nervous system regulation and the micronutrient optimization that we talked in the first 2 tips, and you're giving your immune system everything it needs to fight off viruses before they even take hold. So these 3 tips that I just given you have been absolute non-negotiables for me for the past few years, and it has clearly paid off and kept me healthy year round. And now if you are coming down with something, or you're showing the very first symptoms of a cold, or you know it's around the corner, then watch this video next where I share my 3 very concrete steps that I use to stop colds fast, naturally, and without medication. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you over there. Bye.